Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Be the Media Huntington, the Huntington View. Tonight is Tuesday, February 6th. I'm Jenny Lee, and tonight I have with me Miss Dana.
Hi, guys.
And Miss Lisa.
Hi, everybody.
So today we decided to go down to the town board meeting and see what was going on so we could give everybody a recap this evening. And we had a lot of resolutions and 5 public hearings. And pretty much what we noticed out of what we saw this evening, today, not this evening, was that 2 resolutions were removed from the agenda during their beginning portion, the executive part. Everyone pretty much voted for all the resolutions 5-0. So they came out of that and decided what they wanted to do in front of the public. On resolution number 2018, number 50, Mr. Cuthbertson had to recuse himself yet again, and he voted no to 2 other items after that. He was one of the only 2 people that voted no. Mr. Cook voted no for art at the Sweet Hollow Park on one item, and Mr. Cook voted no to amending the budget, as well as appointing an equal opportunity officer by the name of Leah Michelle Jefferson.
That was very interesting. When you go back and you realize this was put up, and then he had a statement, a little bit later, but he didn't want to. He opposed this woman. Not only was she the only woman, but she's Black, and at the same token, he said that he was tired of seeing the all-white male. So it kind of contradicted what he said, because if we all have an all-white male anything, I think it would be lucrative to have an equal opportunity employer there, just to make sure that things were done properly. So it was kind of a contradiction to what he was actually saying.
I think he made a lot of contradictions tonight, this afternoon.
Yeah.
So that's where I was at with that, because not for nothing, we have we have a lot of unrest in the government right now. So I would think that he would be one of the first people to welcome an equal opportunity person, just to ensure that things didn't, were smooth. Exactly what he was complaining about. But, I will have to ask him about that at a later date, because I couldn't really get the gist of why he was. I knew he felt as though we didn't need a stipend, because that was headed by another department usually. So he felt as though they didn't need a stipend. But maybe the new administration was feeling, we don't really want to overload our department heads, or maybe they might be biased. So let's have it totally separate. So I can't say too much about it because I don't know enough about it. But what I do know is that he made a statement, and then it was contradicting what he was saying there. So.
Oh, absolutely. We're going to be showing that later, because there were 5 public hearings, and where he made the statement that you're talking about is in complete contrast with how this meeting ended today. We're going to add that in for everyone to see. So there were 5 public hearings. The first one was pretty much, business as usual. It was to schedule a public hearing February 21st, 2018, 7 p.m. to consider adopting local law introductory, amending the Uniform Traffic Code, basically with parking restrictions down on Girard Street and Stewart Avenue. So business as usual there. And then the next 2 were really interesting. There was only one person that spoke out about one of these, which I'm going to call them both zone changes, even though the other one isn't, but I would put them into that category. So the first one, I came home and I looked up the Suffolk County tax map. And so this one is to change the zoning from R5 residence district, which is like single family homes, to R3M garden apartment special district. So more apartments for property located on the south side of number 20 Creek Road, east of Wall Street, Hale Site, New York. Do you know where that is?
Yep, I do.
I don't.
You don't. Okay, that's okay. Here, I'm going to take you there as soon as I try my screen. Okay. It's always so much fun. Can you see my screen?
No, I still see you.
Okay, see it.
Now I see you. I mean, now I see the screen.
Okay, so do you see where we are? There's a little map here.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Down by, okay, so believe it or not, 20 Creek Road. Whoop! Uh-oh, I just took a ride. So you're like over by the Valencia, believe it or not. But back in between, behind all these woods,
Mm-hmm.
2 or 3 houses back here.
What?
And I know, crazy, right? But that land is also, it's all bog land. Just
What
like
does that mean?
Bog. It needs fill to be. You remember how this area used to all flood?
Yes.
Down in Hale Site. It's
Yes.
like, I mean, if you, for lack of a better word, it's swampland.
I was just going to say that. Yeah.
Okay.
So they had to bring in all this. They had to carry out all sorts of dirt and fill this with different dirt when they built Creek condos. But back here is where they want to put more apartments. So they're planning on changing the zone. That's what the public hearing is about for that one. Hold on, let me get back here. That's what the public hearing is for, that they're for a change of zone for that parcel of property right across the street from the other apartments down the street from the Valencia Tavern, which is also for sale. That whole area over there is. So that's why I'm saying, like, the whole thing is just so interconnected.
Yep.
I just have a question that I'm sure nobody can answer. When are we going to stop building? Like, when is enough? When is it enough? And how do we already have issues with our sewers. We already have issues with parking. We already have issues with overcrowded schools. When is enough going to be enough? Why do they
There's lots of
feel?
people in town that feel that it's never enough. Like some lady on Huntington Matters Community Forum, which is now the page. What are you supposed to do? Just turn everyone away? Just stop letting anybody in? Oh, whatever. But
It's not that you're turning people away. It's not that you're stopping anything. You know, it's the fact that people pay to live out here because of the space, because we enjoy. The more people you have, the more mom and pop shops will have to close because they're not going to be able to compete with the flow of all these people. So that's when you get the big corporations coming in here, and that's when these little small quaint towns change. And for many of us who chose to live out east, we wanted to live here because of the property. The school districts were good or decent enough, and now you're telling me you want to. I'm sick of it. I'm sick of seeing the construction 1 mile ahead. I'm just.
What did the guy say today? It sat with me. Towns are now indistinguishable from one another. We have an epidemic of apartments.
It's true. It's true. It's very, it reminds me more and more of Queens, Brooklyn. I don't want to be on top of my neighbor, and I don't want my neighbor on top of me.
Well, here's another question. Who's benefiting from all of these apartments? Whose pockets are being lined, Mr. Cuthbertson? Who's benefiting from these?
Well, we have to be careful when we ask who is benefiting, because the reality is, if let's say a particular politician is benefiting, that's fine, but you're also going to have a benefit. They're going to say that you have a benefit in the economy because people are going to be buying.
It's sales tax revenue. It's sales tax revenue.
So you got to be careful when we're asking who's going to benefit, because it could be a long list of people. It could be a long list of. It could be a long list. It's not just going to be a one person answer or just one particular person.
It's not going to be one person. But my question is, really who's benefiting from it all? Is our our environment's not benefiting. I don't think we're
No.
benefiting from it. You know,
Well,
Well,
we live on an island.
right.
You can only go so far, and you
Right.
can only strain it so much before you've destroyed that island.
So who
it
is
is.
going to
It's true.
benefit this?
It's true what you're saying, but at the same token, when you're asking who's going to benefit, they'll easily say the economy is going to benefit, because if we have 5 new families, that's 5 new people going to the supermarket. That's 5 new people using the cleaners. That's so it's going to go into the economy, and then they can easily say, look at the people. The people are going to make the community better. It'll be well diverse. They'll use all kind. That's what I'm just saying. When we want to ask those kind of questions, we don't want to really leave it open. That's a really broad question. Who's going to benefit? Because
Yeah.
it'll easily be able to be turned around to say it'll benefit everyone. The one thing they won't be able to say is, like Jenny said, and like you've mentioned, Lisa, one, it's an island, and two, our water system is already messed up.
Right.
So unless they have this plan that's going to, take care of all that, I think while we may benefit as far as the economy goes, I think the money that we get, or the money that they, generate, will have to go to fixing those type of issues. Sanitation.
And
Who's going to pick up all that garbage?
if everybody could afford to fill all these apartments.
And you know what, I was watching a video on YouTube, and something came up. It just popped up. I don't know why it came up right after, because it really had nothing to do with what I was watching. And it was a condo. I want to say that it was in Florida. I want to say that it was a condo that was built, and they were unable to sell it. So what they did was they turned it into like a motel where people could either pay week to week or month to month. So when you walk in, this place looks beautiful, but then you see the people who are in there, and then you're like, well, wait a minute, that doesn't match what looks outside. It doesn't match. And then the people go and they start to investigate. It was supposed to be a condo. They couldn't fill it, so they gave it to the state, and the state basically uses it as, I don't know the correct term, but they use welfare housing, similar to the roadway that you guys were telling me.
We didn't have this on our agenda to talk to, but what I had linked that earlier this week. We do have a Suffolk County law that pays for hotel rooms for homeless in hotels. That, remember, I had put that on our board earlier.
Mm-hmm. We briefly touched on it at the end of last episode,
and I could see that happening. Absolutely.
And that's what I would be afraid of, as if we don't have enough criminal mischief as is. You start renting out, and I'm not by far saying that everybody who has to utilize those particular dwellings are mischievous. I'm not saying that, but what I'm saying is that you will, the likelihood or the probability that someone in those type of dwellings are going to do something not favorable to the community is high.
Yep.
Right.
Absolutely.
So, right. And in a lot of these places that they're building, they're expecting to fill them with retail. Who's to say that's going to happen either? No parking.
I guess we'll see, because we're going to keep stalking these properties.
Yeah, we will see.
So here's another property I was stalking. The next scheduled public hearing was to consider authorizing the supervisor. This one's confusing. I almost want to bring you guys to the video on this one. The supervisor to execute a license agreement with Crest Cottage LLC for its use of a portion of Town of Huntington land identified as Suffolk County tax map. And I went to the tax map. So first I'm going to show you what we're talking about, right?
Yeah, because I have no idea.
I have no idea what I'm talking. And this sounds like I'm speaking German right now, right?
It's just too much jumbled in together.
What are you talking about? All right, let me show you what I'm talking about, because this was weird.
That's one of the ones that Cuthbertson voted no on.
So this is the tax map. It was 0400 045. All right, tax. I wanted to make sure I had the right one. Mill Dam Road, Centerport, Town of New York, right? So I look it up on the map, and this is the Mill Pond House. We all know that restaurant. We love that restaurant, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then this is Mill Pond, which leaks, and then that goes out. And that's that really pretty road over by the church. So I'm looking at this, and I'm going, it can't be Mill Dam Road. What do we do? What is this? right? And I'm like, how much is it? $3,190. That's weird. It's Centerport, right? Are you kidding me? But no, Bill, what's going on? The town owns this. Town owns this under open space. Okay. And it's underwater land. And it's 34.1 acres. And I'm sitting here, I'm going, what are we talking about here? We're talking about the pond. So I start digging into this.
That's, oh my God.
And there's this crazy story that this property back in like 1985 was owned by three guys who loved clamming. In fact, one of them now started all he's one of the like major guys in the clamming industry in Huntington, right? So this guy decided, it was actually genius, that he was going to plant clams to harvest in Mill Dam and just go out and harvest them himself. And something happened. The DEC got involved and the town took this property from this guy way back when. We could probably do a whole show on this because this even goes back to, listen, this whole thing gets crazy. I also found this thing, Centerport fights developer of Mill Pond. This one's in 1991. You could see this, right? Somebody can go back. No, you can't see this at all? Oh my goodness.
No.
Oh, can't stand this thing sometimes. You see that? Centerport fights developer.
Yeah.
This one goes back to 1991. So this parcel of property, this pond, has this crazy history. But this one involves Mr. Pius. Do you know who he is?
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, he owns this teeny tiny little itty bitty house over on Mill Pond. And the town decided to put a sewage treatment plant on his property, and he sued him for rent. Oh, this parcel of property has quite a, I want to find out the whole mystery. But what's going on here after further investigation, I'm trying to find my stop sharing screen. Hold on. Okay, sorry about that. Is that the town, there's a piece, have you been to the Mill Pond? You know where Jellyfish and Thatch Cottage is?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, there's a big fight over the 7-Eleven over there on that corner.
Right.
Okay. So there's some lower parking. This is, I think it is. I'm not sure because how can you park in Mill Pond? And that's what we're talking about. There's some parking back there, but I don't know why the town wants to rent that little piece of parking from the property owner. Is basically what they're saying here. The town wants to execute a license agreement with Crest Cottage for its use of a portion of the town of Huntington land identified as basically the pond.
There has to be so much more to this.
Yeah, because that doesn't make any sense.
This stinks.
We have to go to that hearing and find out what's going on.
Yeah, something's not right.
So that's on February 21st. We're totally going to go to that one. I want to find out what's going on. Okay, so moving on, we had some appointments tonight. Lisa, do you want to read us the first appointment, and then or read us both of
number 69?
69 and 70, and then what I'll do is I'll take us to the video clip of this portion of today's town board meeting.
Okay, so number 69, appoint members to the Town of Huntington Planning Board and the Town of Huntington Zoning Board of Appeals, and appointing a vice chairman to the Town of Huntington Planning Board. Paul Ehrlich, member of the Planning Board, 2014-2018 through December 31st, 2024. Paul Ehrlich, vice chairman of the Planning Board, Valentine's Day 2018 through December 31st, 2018. Richard McGrath, member of the Zoning Board of Appeals, February 15th, 2018 through December 31st, 2024. Okay, and you want me to read 70?
Yeah.
Just so tiny, these words.
I know.
Appoint various directors and deputy directors for the Town of Huntington. Andre Sorrentino, director of the Department of General Services. Peter Samus, director of Department of Public Safety. Joseph Rose, deputy director of the Department of Public Safety. Greg Wagner, Director of the Department of Parks and Recreation. William Musto. Is that it? It's so tiny. Sorry. Deputy Director of the Department of Parks and Recreation. John Clark, Director of Environmental Waste Management. Matthew, how do you say his name?
I would say Lau.
Lau? I'm sorry, Matthew. Deputy Director of the Department of Environmental Waste Management. Nick Wheeland, Deputy Director of the Department of Information Technology. And Dominic Spada, Deputy Director of the Department of Maritime Services. Whew.
Okay.
Okay. So,
all right.
I have a lot to say.
Can I say who said no?
Can I grab the video?
I say who said no? I'll grab a tissue. Hold on. Who said no to these appointments? Mr. Cuthbertson and Miss Circle. Okay, on to you.
Are you ready?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, here we go.
Any opposed?
No.
Resolution is adopted, 4 ayes, 1 no. The no is Councilman Smith.
No, Cuthbertson.
Sorry, you sound different today.
Who, me or him?
No, usually your voice comes really very projected into the microphone.
I didn't have enough coffee this morning, Joy.
So I correct that.
I'll start projecting in just a moment.
Thank you. Resolution 68 is adopted, 4 ayes, 1 no. The no is Councilman Cuthbertson.
And I'm offering Resolution 69 to appoint members of the Town of Huntington Planning Board and the Town of Huntington Zoning Board of Appeals and appointing a vice chairman to the Town of Huntington Planning Board.
Seconded by Councilman Smith. All in favor?
On the motion. This is, I think, what is going to be a recurring theme for the next two, this and the next resolution, which is that we are appointing all white males to positions of department heads or on our boards here. In this case, we're appointing a former Republican candidate for town board, which I don't think running for town board or any other political position should be a disqualifier. I just don't think it should be the main calling card. I also don't think, in the terms of Mr. McGrath, and I'll just say it directly, that when, as a part of your resume, your first 2 bullet points that describe yourselves is that you are opposed to development, doesn't show a fair and balanced approach to the land use process. So I have grave concerns about that. And for that reason, I'll be voting no.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
Resolution is adopted, 3 ayes, 2 noes. The noes are Councilman Cuthbertson and Councilwoman Circle.
Good. I am offering resolution number 7. You appoint various directors and deputy directors for the Town of Huntington. Second.
Seconded by Councilman Smith.
On the motion, I'm being asked to cast a vote to fill positions that are vital to the day-to-day operations of town government. I've interviewed the candidates, and as I've considered my vote for today, several key questions have surfaced in my mind. Chief among them, who else was up for these jobs? How wide of a net did we cast to fill those jobs? Were there efforts to seek diversity in the hiring process? I'm sorry to say that I don't know the answer to those questions because I haven't been provided with the benefit of that information. To draw an analogy, it would be like walking into a store to buy a television set and you're only offered one model and no others to look at, and you're still expected to make the purchase. Huntington is a first-class town. It's a diamond, and it deserves our most conscientious and comprehensive hiring process. I will be voting no, not in condemnation of all of the candidates, but of the process.
On the motion, I will echo some of Councilwoman Circle's comments, but I'll first say that between this and the last resolution, we have 11 appointees and 11 white males. Now, if we were looking to recruit the executive team at Barstool Sports, I think this might be a good start. But we're looking to run a diverse and dynamic town, and I think we need to have at least considered other candidates. As I said previously, one of the criteria here, one of the recurring themes I see, is that if you run for public office as a Republican, you have a chance to be a department head. I see him in the crowd, and I'm surprised Mr. Lennox isn't getting the job. I feel bad for him. He's the only one who ran last year that doesn't get an appointment. And I'll say this. It should not be a disqualifier that you are involved in politics. I think people should be involved in politics. I think there are good people on this list that are involved in politics. But it really lends itself to cynicism about the process when we don't look and say, okay, we considered 5, we considered 10 people, and of them, we arrived at this candidate because they had the best credentials. And when it comes to that, I would express the same concern as Councilwoman Sturgill that we didn't advertise for these positions. What there was a private website, the supervisor's website, where I guess he received resumes. But that's a concern to me. We saw this recently in the town of Oyster Bay. They had a private Facebook page for their supervisor. Concerns were raised because it's not subject to, or it can be subject to, a public forum analysis under the First Amendment, but it really should be a part of the freedom of information process. Could, if they wanted to, petition and ask about those things because they are part of a public process. And it just begs the question of, are we looking at the best candidates? And I'll use Mr. Samus as an example, and as a good example. I think if we looked at a list of people, and we got 10 people, he'd probably be at the head of the list. He has excellent credentials. But why not allow there to be a situation where we say, we got someone who was really good, he was head and shoulders above the rest. Again, I'm not going to go into an individual critique of the people we appoint. I will work with them. I look forward to them being a steward of this town. But I wonder if we have cast a wide enough net. I also note that one of the candidates, from what I understand, had a pending ethics opinion that he was looking for. I don't know whether that's been received. And if he has not received an ethics opinion, that we merely defer on that until he gets that opinion.
All in favor?
I just want to add something to that. I mean, 2 weeks ago, we did extend the period of time so everyone had ample opportunity to interview and look through the candidates. And I'm in touch with all board members, either on a daily basis or every other day basis, where they can come into my office, speak to me on the phone, text me, email me. So I do make myself available. Everyone did have opportunity to interview. No one else, certain names, and a lot of the people that we did choose are not new faces to the public, either involved in the community, have had school board experience, library board experience, small business owners, people that have, put in time and obviously, I believe, have expertise in their area. The other thing is none of the council people that have spoken have given me alternative resumes, continue interviews to look at or to vet people. So, and people are in my office all the time. So I will be supporting this resolution. I'm sponsoring the resolution, and I would, I ask my colleagues.
Mr. Supervisor, respectfully, I just think it's an unfair comment, because what was the process? 2 weeks ago, you presented final resumes for appointments without saying what the process was. Had we gathered resumes? Had we winnowed the field down as we have in the past? There have been times when we looked for a position in this town and we advertised in the New York Times because we didn't get a wide enough field. So I think it just begs the question of, where were the candidates from? To whom did we advertise? Where are these people coming from? We're a big town. We're a town of 200,000 people, many of whom have very good and diverse qualifications, and it just would have been great to see a wider field of candidates, even if all of these people would have wound up as the finalists.
And Councilman, you were in my office Friday at 3:15, and I did ask you questions, and that you could have went through each of the candidates on a pro-con basis. You could have said, Supervisor, these are other people that I would like you to interview. And
well, on Friday, it's funny you say that. On Friday afternoon, when we got our packet, this wasn't in there. This was put as a late starter today. It's still, I'm befuddled by that. Why, if it was your intention on Friday to go forward with that, it wasn't put out with the rest of the town board packet on Friday. But again, begging the question of what was the process? You know, who we offered this to? If you had told me, Mr. Supervisor, we are opening up the door, and for 3 to 4 weeks, there are people who are going to come in and they can submit their resumes, and the personnel director is going to look at them. We're going to look at credentials. We're going to look at references. We're going to look at backgrounds. Then there's going to be a process by which we narrow the field, and maybe 1 or 2 of those people come to board members, and everyone, we reach a consensus on what this should be. That's fine. I appreciate at the last meeting that you said you allowed the minority time to look at this. I've never looked at this board as a minority-majority place. I know you came from the assembly, and I respect the great work that you did there. And it organizes itself in the assembly as a minority and majority because it's so big. Here we have 5 people on a board, 2 apiece from a major party, 1 a registered independent. And to me, there is enough of an opportunity because it's not this unwieldy mass of people to reach a consensus in a way that is best for the town.
And again, after your letter 2 weeks ago, I did extend the period of time for resumes and interviews.
If I may, Supervisor, I did forward 2 resumes to you. I hope you received those.
I did receive 1 yesterday.
Any other comments? I'll call the vote for Resolution 70. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
Resolution is adopted, 3 ayes, 2 noes.
Wow. Yep. Major crybaby.
There's so much there. I mean, do we want to start with Mr. Cuthbertson's complaints about people who previously ran for town board that are being appointed to petitions when he himself did that with Stuart Besson? You know, Stuart Besson was literally voted off the town board after running and being elected and then serving and then voted off by the people, and he was appointed. So clearly, Mr. Cuthbertson does not have a problem with people who have previously ran for office now being appointed into positions. And what kind of left hook was that at Leonic?
He was right.
And what is this white male hate that he's got going on when basically he is also responsible for appointing white males himself? His lead-in was about the color of their skin, and then followed up if he knew about qualifications. And it's disturbing to hear, especially since we know virtually almost everybody that was appointed. There's some really great people there. There's one I have a problem with, but we'll get to that later. We'll get to that.
Can I, in my honest opinion, and I just want to throw it out there for anybody to agree or disagree with, but in my honest opinion, I think that the only reason why Mr. Cuthbertson may or may not have a problem with those particular white males is because he's losing the other men on that board who are, I believe, white, and his friends, and maybe some nice contributors. So I think he doesn't like to lose his friends with benefits. That's my opinion. So I just want to throw it out there. And I believe that Miss Sergel, I don't know anything about her, you know, good or bad, I don't know anything. But wasn't she just appointed? I mean, maybe we went to the same TV store because I didn't know anything about her either. She got appointed.
It's true. So, we weren't given a choice to buy a TV at all. We were just shoved this TV at us.
I walked into the same TV store that she shops in. I was given one choice for a model TV, and there she was. So, what do you know? That's all I know about that.
You all right, Dana? Are you still writing it down?
I am.
She's festering.
Well, here, I don't want to, I try to use my words. I try to pick the words so I don't come off a certain way. Because to me, that's just important. I I don't have a problem with the fact that Mark said an all white male board. Okay, because let's be honest, that's what it is. Okay, I'm not disqualifying the appointees' credentials. I'm not disqualifying that time was spent to pick them. What I am saying is that why is it that the supervisor kept saying, why didn't you give me the resumes of who you like? When whatever whatever resumes were sent in, why couldn't they all just view all the resumes? Again, because if I give you the resume who I like, I'm picking again. So if you advertise for this particular position or positions, why didn't everyone get a chance to look at all the resumes? So if Joan felt like she needed to add, let her add, and then everybody review it. If Mark, it should have been a collective unit. Then he clarified his statement and he said he has an issue with the process. But Joan, she did, her analogy made sense. Say what you want about whatever either Joan or Mark. What they were saying was head on. Now, we don't have any diversity on that board with the exception of one woman, and she was appointed. How she was appointed, if you have a vote, doesn't matter. She's there. Okay? So let's work with that because before then, we had nothing. Okay? And then at the second motion, I hate to say it, but even with Dominic Spada, and I like him a lot, but how did you get into town office? You never said anything. I thought you were running a transparent campaign. Then all of a sudden you jump into office. So was your purpose to down or talk bad about Doc Spencer so you can get the seat? These are the kind of questions that are going to come about. And it's very ironic that when you run as a Republican and you lose, then you get a spot. So is that the go-to motto? You run.
No, I think the same thing happens with the Democrats. The difference is with the Republicans, they've lost and gotten spots because they're all on the same team. With the Democrats, they're told to wait their turn because they had power for so very, very long that it became a turn-taking process for the Democrats. So the Republicans are a team, and they came to know each other as good people. Like the one that, because you used Dom as an example, he took a position of public safety with maritime services because that's what he does. He's the safety guy. As far as Nick Wheeland, I mean, we all know Nick. I guess he's in charge of the IT department now. But I mean, most of these people, like Andre Sorrentino, how can you even argue with that? He ran for office and he lost. And he took this position. He's going to be, I'm sorry. I totally misspoke there. I'm going back to when Tony Teep had originally was going to be picking Andre Sorrentino and several others to run for office, including Jean Cook, but she changed her mind halfway through that. He was part of the people that were picked to run for, I believe it was the highway department that he was going to run for, but they ended up putting different people forward. He's going to be excellent in that position. The one I have a real problem with is that John Clark guy. And you know why? He just ran for Greenlawn Water District. He got elected. Remember, I was in Greenlawn and all of a sudden I saw the sign over there and I'm like, hey, what's going on? This guy was just running for the highway department.
Right. And lost.
Then he won Greenlawn. Now he lost and he's being appointed to the waste management department. So now he's in charge. Didn't I say this last week?
Yeah, you did.
Clean water and dirty water, but I said it the other way.
Right. So, well, Jenny, this reminds me of a conversation and an email I had shared with you about, the Democrats. Well, it is Democrat, Republican. It's not so much, you don't have to obsess over one party, but how these attorneys and politicians, work amongst themselves. Remember our former Suffolk County executive and that email I had showed you where
Leave it.
Hey, if you don't win, Mr. Lawyer, we're just going to put you here. You're going to fill in that little gap, and then we'll find a spot for you. So it's all the same. It's nothing different.
Just like, look, okay, the first one that Mark called out, right? He called out Rich McGrath. Rich McGrath ran with Tracy Edwards years ago. He was her running mate back when Tracy was a Republican. Years ago.
Again, I mean, I understand what you guys are saying. However, the point is the Republicans are not running on diversity. So every single appointment that they give will be critiqued. Every single thing that they do will be critiqued because it's just not adding up. Now, I don't care if McGrath ran with Jesus Christ. We're talking about what he did, how he got appointed now. That all that other stuff doesn't matter to me. We're dealing with right now. And it doesn't look good. You can't answer the process. You can't answer, why you lack diversity. You won't even address it. And
we lost Dana.
Oh, sorry. I'm so sorry. Okay. A phone call came through. That's the first time that ever happened.
Like, but you know I'm on my show.
I know. I'm like, what is going on here?
We can hear you, but we just can't see you.
Can you see me now?
No.
I don't know what happened. I'm still here though, so I'm just gonna keep going because I don't know what that person did and why they were calling me now. Can you see me now?
Nope. But I can hear you.
Should I?
Can you hear me?
Should I go out and come back in?
You can always do that. It's okay. We'll hold your spot.
Okay, I'm gonna go out and come back in.
We'll fill you in and then we'll put you where we need you.
Hold on, I'm coming. I'm gonna come right back.
Hold that spot. We'll fill you.
Mark always gets ready when he knows he's going in for the kill too. He's always like,
"Oh, how many times does he say
to go in?
So important. I'm so special."
Can you see me now?
Yeah, we got.
Okay, sorry.
We were just saying how when Mark gets ready to go in for what he like announced, he's like, "Oh, I'm gonna get you though," but then he goes, he winds up, he goes, "Oh, I'm ready to go in for the night."
But if you when he's serious, he stays focused. Because I watched his body gestures today. When he's serious about something, he's focused, and he has his points. Now, you may have your personal feelings about Mark, which is we're all entitled because we all think differently. But the guy keeps getting reelected, and this is a local election, so the people are still voting him in, regardless of how you may feel. He's still in there.
Last election was close, though.
Not close enough because he's back.
Oh, I know.
So it's like we have to address that issue of the lack of diversity. And you can't say, their whole campaign was, oh, we're not going to run it like the old administration, but then you appoint people like, the town attorney. It's just too much. It looks sloppy because you criticize the last administration for doing it, yet you did the same thing. And then, they have their little pit bull, Joshua Price. And he's just like, he's very arrogant. So it's not like you can really have a real conversation with him. And he's just, as long as how he comes across is as long as a woman is doing some type of administrative duties or something clerical, you have diversity. How many women have you put in power? Places of power. See, my thing is not Black or white or Spanish or Asian. That's not it. When I say diversity, I'm talking about, Black, white, Spanish, Asian. I'm also talking about, male, female, gay, handicapped, whatever the case may be, all aspects of diversity, and we don't see it. You have somebody like Ed Smith who selects who he speaks to. You cannot, you don't have the option.
But also, I want to know how many people are actually clamoring for these jobs, because you can't blame, if there's a job available and 5 white guys show up, you can't get mad at the guy who hired them for only hiring a white guy. If
I agree.
Some guy didn't show up in a wheelchair, and we didn't get the handicap quota met, then how do you fault the guy who did the hiring for that?
No, you can't. No, you're right. You can't.
Mark and Joan had 2 weeks. We were at the last town board meeting. They pulled it off the agenda then. Something went down. If they were truly serious, instead of saying, they should have gone out pounded the streets and put forth when they asked that question about the resumes, Mark had no resumes. Joan said she had 2. He only received 1. So there's also a level of accountability. You can't say that you're supposed to do this and I'm going to fault you for not doing this when I also didn't bother to contribute. So if they want that type of diversity, maybe they need to be held accountable to not just point the finger of blame at you're only hiring white guys and bring in a binder of people that are as diverse. He needs to walk. He needs to talk. If he's going to talk the talk, he's got to walk the walk. He should have.
He didn't have any resumes. He didn't bring any resumes.
A binder full of resumes, and then he would have had an argument. But he had none.
I can't agree with that. I mean, Chad said that. The supervisor said that he had a list of resumes that came in to a private email. So let's not sugarcoat it. It came into a private.
Yeah, no, I'm going to about the process end of this.
And that's what he was saying. So I'm a firm believer, just like when we talk about voting, don't give me any crap about, oh, this is not fair. That's not fair when you don't vote. And don't tell me that this person is stealing this election or doing unethical things and they still get into office. You voted him in. So I'm all for, holding people accountable. The thing that Mark has a point and Joan has a point. Why weren't they made privy to the resumes why should I have to bring you a resume? You set something out, you received the influx of resumes. Why didn't I see that? Because if I bring in my resumes, you're going to say I'm bringing in people who I like. And that's what I'm trying to get away from.
The process should have been more open. They should have been more involved. And at the same level, they should have been contributing their share into the honeypot. So then they have an argument to stand on saying, listen, I gave you this group of 30 great women from all walks of life, and you still went there with 10 men. You know what I mean?
But Mark made it clear. He said if he made it, if they were privy to the information, he's not saying that they would not have come up with the same exact people. What he's saying is that because he wasn't made privy to that information.
I agreed with him with what he said at that point, but his delivery in the beginning to be so meaning and that left hook that he gave to closed off any listening ears to that portion of what he had to say. Because when it came down to his delivery, why did he pull Jim Lennick into that? Lennick. That was
his delivery. Well, we spoke about we spoke about his delivery last show. His delivery, I think, is unsavory at all time, the majority of time. But we can't take away from the fact that he makes a valid point. Mark is very intelligent, extremely intelligent. So he knows how to work a crowd, and he knows this is his job. So he knows how to get things riled up. And what he said, he was crystal clear. It wasn't the appointees that he questioned. It was the process. And he is absolutely correct. If you, I, and Lisa, we have a show like we do. We say, we're looking for a next member. Send in your resumes to Dana. And then I come into you guys and I say, okay, guys, I received 16 resumes and I'm picking this person. And the first thing, especially big mouth Jenny, she'd be like, well, why didn't I see all the resumes? How do I know that person's qualified? Oh, and that's the right thing. That's how the government works. We need to see. And for an administration coming in claiming to be so transparent, you don't seem transparent at this point in time. And by the supervisor saying, oh, well, why didn't you bring me your own resumes of who you want? Mark was clearly stating, I don't want to do that. I want to know the process of how you selected these people. I want to know who was qualified, who wasn't qualified. Because if I bring you my resume, it's like I'm telling you who to appoint. I want to see the pool that you pulled from. Because like he said, there's no guarantee that the same 10 people wouldn't be there. Like Jenny, what you said, if you open a position and no handicapped people come, you can't say, well, he didn't hire any handicapped people. No handicapped people came. So what can you do? You know what I mean? So we have to stop sugarcoating things. Stop trying to act like the diversity does exist, because it doesn't. And the way that the people who they put in charge set a tone. And the tone separates people that normally wouldn't be separated. And it sends a message that, like this is going to be a rough 4 years, and we're going to constantly go back and forth. and are we not going to get things done? We don't want to mirror the national,
I
the
don't think
national.
that's what's happening here. What I saw, if you look through all the resolutions and it tells you a tale. It tells you they went into their executive board meeting, right?
Mm-hmm.
They agreed. They all voted 5-0 except for 3 resolutions on this thing. Pretty
But
much.
also, if you remember, if you also listened to what Mark said, when he spoke of the 2 appointments, 69 and 70, he said this is going to be a long, ongoing issue that we will continue to revisit.
Well, because you're going to have to keep appointing. They're not done. There's positions to be filled.
So, it's kind of always going to be, it's not something that we could just say, oh, well, no, because, it's really not, oh, well. It's like he made a point, and Joan made her point, and the rebuttal wasn't sufficient, as it wasn't sufficient when they were running their campaign. Like I said, like Mark, love Mark, whatever, hate Mark, whatever your issue is, that's fine. But if he has a point, you have to give him credit where credit is due. We're not talking about, his mannerisms. We're not talking about, if his delivery. We're just talking about the facts, because
we
his
said
mannerisms.
It last week. It's his delivery that overshadows his intelligence when it comes to the actual issues. It's not just that, it's the way that he just all of a sudden lashes out at people intentionally in his general attitude. That's why. How can you be in love with this guy?
How do you even know he's telling the truth? He's so smart, he's so wonderful. How do you even know that he's telling the truth up there in front of a town board meeting? Oh, I don't know the process. Oh, I don't know.
Come on.
I mean, really, like, how do you know that he's telling the truth?
If he wasn't, we have to be practical. You have to be practical. You're sitting up there with 5 people. If he wasn't telling the truth, somebody would have said something. You saw how Chad came back with a rebuttal, and he was like, no, this is what happened. I asked you, you didn't give me anything, and this is what it is. So we can't, if he's telling the truth, then that means that all 5 individuals up there just let him talk. So we can't question the validity of what he said, because nobody opposed it. They did oppose what they didn't agree with, yes, but you can't say if he's telling the truth. Did you show him the resumes, yes or no? Obviously, they didn't. So, I mean, it's factual. We have to, when it comes to politics, I tell people all the time, it's not personal. I always get emails. I always get in my inbox on Facebook, why do you hate Chad? I don't hate Chad. I know Chad personally. I don't like the campaign he ran. I don't dislike him as a person. That has nothing to do with it. It has to do with the policies he is or he is not going to create. Politics is not personal. And until you can separate yourself and make a clear, precise conclusion, either way, people will always doubt what you have to say, or it will hinder you getting your point across.
Well, you know what this reminds me of? We were all taken back, and I think so. If you recall the town board meeting when Susan stepped down.
Yes.
The only people that knew, Gene didn't know. He even said on the record that night, I only found out tonight.
And that's hard. How do you do that?
It almost seems like what they do is they're having these conversations with if I'm only going to talk to 2 other people, because that's all I need to vote for what I want.
Right.
So if I brought in the resumes and I get 2 people to agree with me on the board, then screw talking to you people. Why bother? You're going to vote no anyways. So why bother? I'm here to pass my agenda, and so it's no different than what was being done before. We've said this before, national politics mirrors local politics at a different level. So now the shoe's on the other foot, kind of. Because the Republicans, as long as they got Gene to go along the independent, they could do whatever they want at this point.
And I thought that really was a low blow on the administration part, not to include everyone on that appointment. It should have been pulled if Gene wasn't given sufficient time to make any decisions or do whatever it is he needed to do. Again, nothing personal. I'm sure Joan is qualified, but for when it comes to being appointed to someone who's going to run the government, I believe that everybody who is involved should have hands on deck.
It wasn't so much her appointment as the
right,
way
it's the process.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Again,
it's
the process, and it's politics, and they play politics, and they turn the script, flip the script on everybody, and
when he wants to know how the process works, he knows exactly how the process works.
I don't know. We don't know if he knows how the process works because he's coming into a new administration as well. He knows how Frank's process was. This is his first time working with Chad, so he doesn't know how his and Frank and Chad are two totally different people in every single aspect.
And
so
Mark is not used to not getting the votes at all.
And you have to understand that
town board meetings now, they're getting outvoted. It doesn't matter how you protest what you don't want, it's going through.
And it's like, you like Jenny said, you have to keep in mind Mark and Frank were like this. So I'm quite sure a lot of the things that Mark wanted to got through because you only need the 3 people to vote to pass it.
Frank's going to put through whatever Mark wanted. That's how it works.
So he very well may not know the process at this point in time. Chad is what we consider to be a new age Republican. They don't think like the old guard. Thank God for that. He's very different. I don't know how much influence he has with some of his constituents, but he's what we consider to be, the new revitalization of the Republican Party. So if they play their cards correctly, then they could really, keep power and do what they need to do. But as long as they keep doing this type of, I call it shenanigans, it's going to constantly come back to the lack of diversity. And then that's going to be the problem. You know what I mean? Just do what you have to do. Be transparent as you claim that you're going to be. And then no one can say anything else.
Right when I was getting ready for us to do the show, I was watching Trey Gowdy had an interview. And he was talking, too, about how politics have changed so much. It's no longer truly about the issue, that it comes down to like Joe Kennedy. People were debating whether he had more Vaseline on his face or not on his face.
Yes, like
that brings us back to like people are so focused with, I get the diversity, but people are so focused with the diversity end of it.
I agree with you. And
there's a lot of things that are being overlooked. So
right.
And that's hurting us as a society. We're becoming very superficial with that. I mean, do you remember the dating game where they used to put the people behind the blinds? I almost want to do that with our politicians now. I don't want to see you. I want to close my eyes and I want you to answer some questions. I'm going to pick you that way.
No, you're absolutely correct because it's
like a dating game, that game.
Dating game for politics.
Yeah. You don't want to. I'm not going to say you don't want to. I'm going to speak solely for myself. I have no interest in debating about diversity every single time. I have no patience for it. You know what you're doing is wrong, whatever the case may be. But as long as you don't address it, it's going to continuously be the elephant in the room. True. And that's the problem. They still have failed to address it. So, I'd rather get down to the nitty gritty. Like, why is that the sewer that you showed us with all that crap in it still looking the same way? And they haven't cleaned it out yet.
I know. And
why is that?
Oh yeah, watch your show. Oh, but you didn't see that? Come on now.
Yeah, and why do we still have
potholes they'll be like, well, why didn't you send it to me? I don't know. Why didn't you show up with a binder of resumes? We could do this all night.
Well, you know what I was like?
No, you're right.
And I know a whole bunch of other people would like to, is to expose, because if the supervisor and some others, if they hid those emails or if they hid resumes so as not to let Mark and Joan see them, I would love it if those people came forward.
You could actually foil that. You could foil it to see. You could foil it. I mean, that's a foilable item. Freedom of information.
I'd like to see all the choices that were in front of them.
Right.
I'd love to see it. To see if those people, to see if any, diverse individuals.
And I don't want to just see their resume. I want a picture attached too.
I'm going to see it all. I'm going to see it all.
There's something so wrong about that.
Yeah, it's like
Bring it on. Tell us who you were.
The
Come
world
out. I'd like to see it too.
absolutely crazy. It really has.
yeah, it's that. I really.
So we're at our 9:30 mark. We don't want to go over.
Dag.
Oh, that went quick, didn't it?
That went too quick.
I know.
That went
Lisa
by
had
super quick.
super
Yeah, I
fast.
got to tell you guys something. We have to have it this week. I have to tell you something really quick. I had a quick lunch today at the Spot. I'll show you there. It's the Spot. It's on Jericho Turnpike.
My husband loves that spot.
Pretty much right next to the post office. You could go inside on the cold days, or you could go to the window when it's nice out. They have the window open. I had some fresh homemade soup, chicken noodle. It was fabulous. But the thing I want to say is that Greg, it has a Top It Off burger, and Greg put together his own burger that's selling like hotcakes. It's a hamburger with American cheese melted. It's got mozzarella sticks on it, fries, and marinara sauce. It melts in your it melts in your mouth. And like he called it,
I would probably die. I could eat that. That's too
I'm
much.
saying it's ridiculous. And I mean, as ridiculous, I mean it's amazing. I mean, that sounds like, oh my God. But anyway, yeah.
You want a sandwich?
We're gonna go up there because I want some of their acai power bowls. Sounds really good. Shakes and burgers and wings and quesadillas. There's 4 customers in there in the 5 minutes I was there. 4 guys came in. They were all ordering burritos. And no, I mean quesadillas, chicken quesadillas. It's empanadas, tacos. Oh my God, I'm getting hungry thinking about it. So we got to visit that this week and have some lunch.
Yeah, we should. Head over there. Let everybody know where that
really,
is.
really good. The Spot. Sounds like a good spot.
Sounds like a plan.
Does anybody have any final thoughts?
I'm going to reserve my final thoughts to another episode because I just don't want to get riled up at the end of the show.
I thought you said everything. There's more?
I felt,
you know,
man.
a lot more. But, it is what it is.
We only got an hour.
Yeah, that's the problem. We only have an hour. I don't want to,
We could be here all night.
literally all night.
Yeah.
So, but it was
what
a good
about you,
show.
Jenny?
No, I have nothing. I have nothing this week. I went back to Fit Body Boot Camp. Great program over there, Kathy Eaton. She always gets really good results for her clients. She has 2 places now, one in Northport and one in Huntington, ironically, right across the street from the cemetery. So you could choose. No, you die or get better.
Or help.
I
Or
can't.
not. She does a great program. I went there.
Right.
I went there too for just a brief time. Her workouts are incredible, and I felt really good. But I have back and neck issues, so I had to stop going because I just could not do it.
What's the cost?
Well, it differs depending on how, like, if you buy a year, then it's one price. If you buy 6 months, one price. Then there's Groupons. If you go to her website, Fit Body Boot Camp Huntington, you could get 3 free classes to try it out.
Okay.
But it's
you don't have back and neck issues and you can do it.
I did it like 4 or 5 years ago, and I looked like a stripper in 5 months. It was awesome. And then I drank again and ate again those big burgers like Lisa was talking about, mozzarella sticks.
And I put all moderation.
Oh, I didn't. I sinned. I've been sinning. He's so full of sin. Oh.
Something's wrong with you. I'm
no,
convinced.
I'm so honest. I'm honest to a fault.
Oh God, Jenny, no.
So if you want to look like a stripper in 5 months,
that
go
big mouth I have, and I'm gonna back it up again. Just in case, we got to go down to the Valencia so we can start a bar brawl.
Okay. See,
we got to go this week. All right.
Sounds like a plan.
All right. So, well, It's been a great night, everyone, and I hope you join us again next Tuesday at 8 o'clock. I hope everyone has enjoyed. Oh, actually, I can't even close. If next week, nope, it's 2 weeks, it's going to be the evening town board meeting. So we may have to change the time on that one because it's an evening meeting. So if everyone could just be patient with us as we find our ebb and flow, because they've changed the town board meetings and we're now covering them. But we hope everyone has enjoyed tonight's Huntington View. Have a good evening, everyone.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.